All right, welcome back to Stu's Aircraft Factory. So we've been away for a while. It's been a busy to finish the move to Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. So here we are in the new hangar in Moose Jaw, which we're actually painting and putting up pictures, building a mezzanine in the back, just try and make it a bit more homey feeling and put a little entertainment area in the back for the kids. So we have a TV and a Blu-ray player and all that good stuff here. So that's the move done. Trip was fine down from Cold Lake to Moose Jaw. So now here we are settled. Great thing here in Moose Jaw is we've got a brand new runway. So the runway is only about 2 months old, so that was nice to come back to. Taxiways are all new and all the painting's done. That's all finished now. So the taxiway and the runway are awesome. So we got an extra 1,000 feet now, so it's 4,000 feet, plenty obviously for the RV. But now we can entertain bigger jets and twins here. So it's a great thing for the airport. So that was super excited to see that. So why we've been away for a few weeks, obviously the work schedule is quite intense right now. So flying twice or sometimes 3 times a day, trying to get to a certain point before the Christmas holidays, which we did last week. Flew the first 9-ship formation with the Snowbird, so that was super exciting and a nice goal to achieve before the holidays. So now as the holidays approach, we got some time off to breathe a little bit, soak it all in, and get ready for the intense training that's going to start the first week of January. So the schedule is out as well. I'll attach a link to the bottom there if you guys want to follow the Snowbird schedule, and hopefully we can come to a town near where you follow. Besides that, all right, let's get into the RV stuff. So we'll talk about performance at the end. Right now I'll update you on the status of the plane and what still needs to be done. It's pretty much unchanged since I've started flying it back in the summer. There's still a lot of fiberglass work to do, a lot of tidying up to do. You can see even the plenum here still needs to be sanded down, painted, and finished and all that. But the aircraft is running perfectly. There's no issues with it. We were battling with some high temperatures in the summertime. So we're getting up above 20 degrees Celsius. The cylinder heads are fine for in cruise. We're getting up to the low 400s in the climb, which is somewhat normal. But then they cool off in cruise, so not too concerned about that. The oil was showing high temperatures when we first started flying it. Modified the oil cooler a little bit on the left side of the engine over there, and that brought it down about 10 degrees. But in the mid-summertime, we're still hitting kind of that 200 degree Fahrenheit in cruise with the power pulled back. So we're gonna address some of those heat issues. Obviously now it's winter time, so I'm actually battling with too cold oil temperatures. So we will put a control in the back of the oil cooler so that we can adjust the temperature a little bit. So that's what's basically going to be done with the engine compartment. Is I'm going to build a ramp in the bottom just to clean up the exit airflow from the bottom of the engine. And I'll show you some pictures of that. That's been done on other RVs, but essentially it's just going to be a piece of aluminum that's going to go in here. It's going to get screwed to the bottom of the fuselage, and it's really just going to clean up that airflow and get the airflow going out smoother and then faster, which would then be better cooling for the engine. And if that still doesn't get everything down to where we want it in the summertime, then we'll look at modifying the cowling a little bit and putting louvers in the bottom of the cowling, which I've already bought. So that'll be kind of the next project. Like I said, for the oil cooler, the oil runs a bit hot in the summertime. So what we're going to do there, I'm going to put a control on it first of all, so I can heat it up in the wintertime, which is a battle always in Canada. But the other thing we're going to do is on the back of it, I'll put like an exit fiberglass area that then runs down the firewall into the exit at the bottom of the cowling out there. So then that'll suck a bit more air out, get more air flowing through the oil cooler, and that should bring the temperatures down. It's nothing that we're concerned about. It's not red line temperatures. It's just, it runs a bit hotter than the other RVs I've experienced, which I knew was going to be the case when we first started this project with this big IO409 engine in here. So that's the basic update on the engine. We'll talk about performance at the end. What else needs to be done? I would say the fiberglass on the cowling, it's still that pink fiberglass, and you can still see the carbon fiber, so it's not the prettiest looking RV out there, that's for sure. The fairings need to be installed. When we get to the talking about performance, I'll tell you why I haven't made that a priority. Spoiler alert, because we're already flirting with the V&E of this aircraft. So putting those fairings on, it's going to speed it up beyond V&E. So I'll have to do something there. We'll pull the power back and cruise, obviously. Obviously the fiberglass around the cowling needs to be done. The leg gear fairings, intersection fairings still need to be done. There's no heat in the airplane right now, so that's not great for wintertime in Canada. I was on a bit of a time crunch when I built this airplane, so I really focused on just getting the airplane airworthy. So there was no passenger seat, there's no passenger seat belts. Heat muff didn't get put on, all that stuff didn't get done that wasn't necessary to actually get the airplane flying. So there's still a lot of work to do there. And putting a heat muff on an RV4, it's not as simple as the other RVs because the exhaust is quite tight. So putting the traditional heat muff might not work in certain areas. You might have to go around 2 exhaust stacks instead of just 1, which would be a good thing, but that'll be a little bit different type of heat muff there. So haven't come up with a 100% plan on that one yet, but we will. And the other thing to talk about is paint. So the airplane is not scheduled to get painted anytime soon. I'm not sure when it's going to be done or who's going to do it. But someday the aircraft will eventually get painted. And we think that the paint scheme is going to be black, silver, white, and some blue in there. So that's the plan for the paint. There really is no plan. What else? All right, let's talk about the performance of the airplane that everybody wants to know. This is the best flying RV that I've had. So this is the 7th RV that I've had, the 5th one that I built, and this one is the fastest and it feels the best on the control stick. So takeoff performance with the constant speed whirlwind prop is phenomenal and lots of power from the engine. So like I said, this is an IO409 engine rated at 215 horsepower, and the airplane weighs about 1,000 pounds. So its power to weight ratio is quite impressive in this plane. So takeoff performance, very short. As you can see from the previous videos where the tail comes up automatically. In fact, you have to be really careful with this airplane to have the stick back in your lap. Otherwise the tail will come up under power. And I've done it accidentally once. Changing directions of the runway. I was going to go to runway 31, but then the windsock changed to 13. So I did a quick 180 with the airplane, pushed the power up a little bit, and the tail came off the ground. So that is not a good thing for prop clearance, but got lucky there. So definitely the rate of onset power in this airplane is something that you need to be careful of. So the takeoff performance is very quick. Initial climb out without regarding any outside air temperature, I use 90 knots. I could probably go slower than that, and that is already about 3,000 feet per minute rate of climb initially in this airplane. So it's quite impressive. Leveling off at around 9,500, a typical cruise, we're still doing about 1,500 feet per minute at 9,000 feet. So it gets up there quickly, and it's very efficient. Now, like I alluded to at the beginning of the video, the fairings are not on because the airplane is so fast that I have to actually pull the power back to not V&E it. It has a pretty conservative V&E, 182 knots. So this airplane, without the leg fairings and without the intersection fairings, I flight plan cruise 180 knots. And that's 24 inches of manifold pressure anywhere above about 6,000 feet MSL and 2,400 RPM on the prop. So that rod bar air intake adds about 1.5 inches of manifold pressure. So that adds quite a bit of power. You can actually feel it in the airplane when you open it up in the air, where you're bypassing the air filter and getting direct ram air through the front of the engine. So that enables me to have 24 inches of manifold pressure, even above 6,000 feet MSL. At 9,000 feet, it tapers off to about 22 inches of manifold pressure, just for your own reference. So 9,500 feet, 22 inches of manifold pressure, which is full throttle, and 2,400 RPM on the prop, 180 knots, true is what I use for flight planning, and then I'm burning about 9.5 gallons an hour. I did put the GAMI injectors on it so I could actually lean it back a little bit more. You start losing TAS as you lean back further below about 9.5 gallons per hour. But if it's a long cross country, then the miles per gallon will probably go up if you do that. So that's a nice thing to have in the back pocket. So yeah, the V&E is quite conservative, 182 knots. Once the fairings are on, once the intersection fairing is on, the actual gear legs themselves are quite draggy. So that is going to add, I'm guessing, close to 10 knots of cruise once all those fairings come on. So you're looking at 190, maybe 192 knots cruise, which is above V&E. But that's a good thing. So at 9,500 feet, I'll level off, and once it gets close to 180, I'll pull the power back. So we should get the same performance that we're getting now with all the fairings on, but burning less fuel, because obviously I have to pull the power back to stay below the V&E. So that is the performance of the airplane. Cruises at V&E burning 9.5 gallons an hour. Once the fairings are on, like I said, we should see significantly less than 9.5 gallons per hour, and continue to flight plan 180 knots with it. So that's the update on the RV4. Sorry for the so infrequent videos. I'm sure you guys can understand with the pace of life right now. I'll leave you with some videos at the end, and we'll try to do this a little bit more often, talk about some flight testing, and if you have any specific questions about building these aircraft, just let me know, and if we can do another topic of it, we will. So build yourself something, take it for a rip, and I'll see you guys soon. Won't be 2 months, promise. Cheers.
Beautiful morning. Untitled Tower, good morning. RV4 Charlie Golf, Victor Bravo X-ray. Copy 2997, airborne on the region, like clearance through the zone to the southeast. Destination is Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan.
Roger, no reported traffic within the zone. Report exiting the zone and confirm call sign again.
It's Charlie Golf, Victor Bravo X-ray, local.
Roger.
Advisory Victor Bravo X-ray is clear of the zone to the southeast. Good day.
Victor Bravo X-ray advisory, Roger. Switch on route now. Have a safe flight, sir.
You too, good day. Moose Jaw traffic, Victor Bravo X-ray down and right, 31, stop, Moose Jaw. Moose Jaw traffic, Victor Bravo X-ray, turning final, 31, stop, Moose Jaw.